Anne,
Hi.
one more time. I'd like to thank you for everything that you've done for us, because if anybody's awakening Canadians, it's you. And hopefully, someday when I grow up, I want to speak as eloquently as you do.
Oh,
The only problem with me is I'll have to go back to school. So anyways, the reason why I was hoping that Rocco would be here, because when we were studying the court case and what the Supreme Courts have been doing, not just in Canada, but the United States and the UK, because they look at each other's responses to be able to feed to the people everywhere. When looking at your court case, the court case was actually titled, between the Committee of Monetary and Economic Reform, Comer, William Prem, and Ann Emmett, which to me is means that there's Comer and then yourself and William.
well, yeah, the difference is that we're biological plaintiffs.
Exactly, which should be actually really good here. But however, my question was, and I was hoping that Rocco could elaborate on this, because as far as I'm concerned, this would be a judge error and a gross negligence upon his behalf, other than having to go back and read through all of the transcripts. He basically said, Comer, as an unincorporated association, cannot benefit from the protection provided for the electoral rights of citizens provided by Section 3 of the Charter. While this protection could apply to the two individual plaintiffs, provided they are Canadian citizens, neither has pled such a cause of action. The amended claim makes no suggestion that the plaintiffs' access to meaningful participation in the electoral process, what the Supreme Court has determined is protected by Section 3, has been in any way affected. And then they name another court case. Mm-hmm. Now, to me, what the judge is saying here is basically you never really said that you were doing your own type of, let's say, class action. So what we're seeing here is they're basically trying to throw out this case because in accordance to other Supreme Court cases, if you look at the First Nations, now the First Nations can no longer go to court, at least from 3 years ago in the, if you look at here, it's in regards to Supreme Court docket 34404, and it was between the Bend and versus British Columbia. Mm-hmm. So what happened there is that these people represented themselves and the people on their reservation and their territories. And what the Supreme Court determined was that they cannot represent everybody in their community unless they have been assigned to do so by signature. So in this court case, and this is why I was hoping that Rocco could answer this, because so far with what we've seen between the United States, in the United States, the Washington State Supreme Court determined that because the people were coming up with rights-based bylaws, like we have the right to be GMO free, so when the corporations who are coming in go to court, the judge would have to look at it and tell them, no, you do not have the right to be GMO free. So they were basing their laws on these things, kind of making the judge look guilty. So now the Supreme Court determined that people, citizens, do not have anything other than privileges and benefits bestowed upon them by their provinces or their governments. So do you think that when you go to the Supreme Court, that this is going to be something you'll need to address before going, otherwise they're going to use that against you?
There's no way that I can speak to anything that specific legally. Only Rocco can speak about those things. But I would suggest that you put your question in writing. You and I are going to be speaking further anyway. And I'll take that to Rocco when I can and look at that. But there's no way that I would hazard even a guess, a wild one, at anything specifically to do with the law. All I can say about things is that they have done everything possible to keep us from getting our case to court. they don't want us to get there. And I think that's a good sign.
Exactly. If we all stick together, we'll get you there. Thank you.
Thanks.